Abram, a man of 75, lived in Haran with his wife Sarai, nephew Lot, and all their wealth. A divine voice commanded Abram to leave his country and relatives, journeying to a land he would be shown. The voice promised to make him a great nation, bless his name, and bless all the earth through him. Abram departed from Haran, taking Sarai, Lot, and all their wealth, heading for the land of Canaan. Abram traveled through Canaan to Shechem, where the Lord appeared, promising this land to his offspring. In response, Abram built an altar there, dedicating it to the Lord who had just appeared to him. A severe famine then struck the land, forcing Abram to travel down into Egypt as a foreigner. He later returned from Egypt, now possessing great wealth in livestock, silver, and gold. Both Abram and Lot had vast herds, and the land could not support them, leading to strife. Abram proposed separation to Lot, suggesting he choose any part of the land for peace. Lot chose the well-watered plain of Jordan, moving his tents towards the wicked city of Sodom. The Lord told Abram to survey all the land, promising it forever to his innumerable offspring. Eastern kings made war on the plain, defeating Sodom and capturing Lot and all his goods. Hearing his relative was captured, Abram armed his 318 trained men and pursued the raiders. He divided his forces for a night attack, striking and pursuing them, bringing back Lot and all spoils. Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest, brought bread and wine, blessing Abram and God Most High. Abram then gave Melchizedek a tenth of all the recovered goods, acknowledging his authority. The king of Sodom offered Abram the goods, but Abram refused, vowing not to take anything. Later, in a vision, the Lord assured Abram, "Don't be afraid. I am your shield, your great reward." Abram expressed concern about being childless, despite all the Lord's promises and his great wealth. The Lord led Abram outside, telling him to count the stars, declaring his offspring would be as numerous. Abram believed the Lord's promise, and it was credited to him as righteousness, a moment of profound faith. As the sun set, a deep sleep fell on Abram, and a smoking furnace and flaming torch passed between sacrifices. In that momentous vision, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, confirming the land promise to his descendants. Sarai, childless, suggested Abram have a child with her Egyptian servant Hagar, hoping for offspring. Abram agreed, and Hagar conceived, but then began to despise her mistress Sarai. Sarai dealt harshly with Hagar, causing her to flee into the wilderness, away from her presence. An angel found Hagar by a spring, telling her to return, submit, and promising to multiply her offspring. The angel prophesied she would bear a son named Ishmael. Hagar returned, and Abram named him Ishmael. At 99, the Lord changed Abram's name to Abraham and Sarai's to Sarah, promising a son through her. Abraham fell on his face and laughed, thinking it impossible for his aged wife Sarah to bear a child. God affirmed that Sarah would indeed bear a son named Isaac, with whom the covenant would be established. One hot day, Abraham saw 3 men standing by his tent at Mamre, and he ran to welcome them. He offered water for their feet, promised rest, and quickly prepared a feast of a calf, curds, and milk. One visitor then declared he would return, and Sarah, despite her old age, would have a son. Sarah, listening from inside the tent, laughed to herself, disbelieving she would have pleasure in old age. The Lord questioned Abraham. Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? The men then rose and looked towards Sodom, and the Lord revealed its great sin and impending destruction. Abraham interceded, bargaining with the Lord to spare Sodom if 50 righteous people were found. That evening, 2 angels arrived in Sodom, and Lot saw them, bowed and invited them into his house. Before they could rest, the city men surrounded Lot's house, demanding he bring out his male guests. Lot went outside, shut the door, and begged the mob not to act so wickedly. The mob pressed to break the door, but the angels pulled Lot inside and struck the men blind. The angels then commanded Lot to gather his family and flee, for they would destroy the city for its sin. At dawn, as Lot lingered, the angels took his hand, pulling him, his wife, and daughters out of the city. They commanded, "Escape, don't look back, don't stay in the plain, flee to the mountains." Then the Lord rained sulfur and fire from the sky upon Sodom and Gomorrah, overthrowing all inhabitants. But Lot's wife looked back from behind him, and she instantly became a pillar of salt. Early morning, Abraham looked toward Sodom and saw smoke rising from the land like a furnace. As promised, the Lord visited Sarah. She conceived and bore Abraham a son, whom he named Isaac. Abraham was 100 years old, and Sarah declared, "God has made me laugh. Everyone will laugh with me." When Isaac was weaned, Abraham made a great feast, celebrating the young boy's milestone. Sarah saw Hagar's son mocking and demanded Abraham cast out the servant and her son. This demand was grievous to Abraham, because Ishmael was also his son, causing him deep distress. God told Abraham not to be grieved, but to listen to Sarah, promising a nation from Hagar's son. Early next morning, Abraham gave Hagar bread and water, putting them on her shoulder, and sent her away. Hagar wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. When her water was spent, she put the child under a shrub. She sat a good way off, unable to watch her child's death, and lifted her voice, weeping bitterly. God heard the boy's voice, and an angel called to Hagar from the sky, telling her not to be afraid. The angel told her to lift up the boy, for God would make him a great nation. Then opened her eyes to a well. She filled her bottle and gave the boy a drink. God was with Ishmael as he grew in the wilderness. After these events, God tested Abraham, calling to him, "Abraham." He replied, "Here I am." God commanded, "Take your only son Isaac, whom you love, and offer him as a burnt offering on Moriah." Early next morning, Abraham saddled his donkey, split wood, and set out with Isaac for Moriah. On the third day, Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the designated place for the offering far off. Abraham told his young men to stay with the donkey, saying, "The boy and I will go worship." Abraham placed the wood for the burnt offering upon Isaac his son, carrying the fire and knife. As they walked, Isaac asked his father, "My father, here is the fire and wood, but where is the lamb?" Abraham replied, "God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son." And they continued. They reached the place. Abraham built the altar, laid the wood, then bound Isaac and laid him on the wood. Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife, ready to kill his son. An angel of the Lord called from the sky, "Abraham, Abraham, don't lay your hand on the boy." The angel declared, "Now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your only son." Abraham lifted his eyes and saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket behind him, provided by God. Abraham took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering instead of his son Isaac. Abraham named that place, "The Lord will provide," a testament to God's miraculous intervention. The angel called again, confirming immense blessings and innumerable offspring for Abraham's obedience. The angel further promised that through Abraham's offspring, all the nations of the earth would be blessed. Abraham then returned to his young men, and they traveled together back to Beersheba, where he continued to live.